The man, we are the kings and the divine of this universe. A woman can never compare to the man. They have to understand that here in America.
Akon claims that African women are better than American women. And men are the kings. Ooh. This video came out or was trending a few days ago, and I just had to jump on and give my thoughts. So first of all, I'm an African woman. I'm actually shooting from Africa right now. I'm in Lagos, Nigeria. So I could give you some perspective, right? Give you some perspective on this. I guess let's just begin. Let's watch it. Let's see what Akon has to say. And then let's talk about it.
Talking about women, now it's paradise. Because you're not just dealing with beauty. You're also dealing with a different mentality. Like, women treat you like
the king you are.
Like a king. They're not competing with you. They're not fighting for equality. Because they understand that men and women could never be equal. They understand their roles.
To that you say?
Not a goddamn
thing. you sucker. I'm going to go put some money in that jar. Go ahead.
I have some money going to the side for my Africa fund. When I could get my shit over there.
I'm going to go bless the jar early. I'm going to call you a bunch today. Yeah. I'm going to put him over there early, yo. This guy.
No, I mean, that's a matter. It's a matter of understanding.
How are those roles defined there?
The roles are very defined. It's very clean. Like here, even if you say the word role to a woman here, they get offended.
That's true.
Just use the role. Yo, play your role, let me play mine. Role? What the fuck you mean, play my role? Like, everybody has a role. There's infrastructure to life. And if a woman doesn't understand her position and the role that she play in life, everybody's confused. How can a man and a woman play the same?
So here's the thing about this Africa debate, that women in Africa are more submissive and they understand their roles, right? I think people always want to have their cake and eat it too, right? I'm in Lagos, Nigeria. In 2020, it was defined as the world's poverty capital. I think another country surpassed it, but let's just say probably the second poorest country in the world. Why do I say that? Why do I bring this up? I'm here in Lagos, Nigeria. I'm Nigerian. My heritage is Nigerian. I'm Nigerian American. So why do I bring this up, right? In places where women play their role, right? Men are the breadwinners, and women are not empowered. Women are not educated. You end up empowering only 50% of your population, right? And that stagnates your growth potential. And when it comes to Nigeria specifically, a country where women know their roles, well, look what we have here, the world's poverty capital. Or this in 2020. Now it's just a little bit better, right? And funny enough, in the parts of the country, which is the northern part of the country, where women are the most suppressed, that makes up 87% of the poorest people in the country in northern Nigeria. So why do I bring this up? People always want to have their cake and eat it too. Men will say women play your role. Women submit. Women are inferior. He goes on this rant talking about how women are inferior. And in societies where women are treated inferior, they're not developed countries. But you see, the reason why I have a problem with Akon and anyone else in America making this excuse, I do live in DC, but anyone in America making this excuse, you want to benefit from a society that is a first world country, that has 24/7 electricity, that has basic amenities provided, right? That has all of these things. You want to benefit in that civilization, which got there by empowering both men and women. But you want to then flip it and say, but women are inferior. Then you bring examples in countries that are not developed as the example of an ideal situation. But you would not be enjoying those benefits you would not be enjoying those amenities if not for the women. This gender war that's going on online is extremely problematic simply because there is no society that will thrive without the contributions of men and women. Bottom line. This idea of play your role is based on a gendered play your role might have worked in the Industrial Revolution or the industrial era, but we are in the information era. So these mindsets are of the eras where we actually did need men for manual labor. But it's 2022. And the more we speed through time, or we go through time, technology, right? I always want to remind people that we are called Homo sapiens, right? Homo sapien means wise man. And there are other Homo species, right? There are other Homo species that didn't survive. They're dead now. We killed them off. Why? Because we were wise. And it's our intelligence that has gotten us to where we are now. And it's what's going to take us through the 21st century. So I say all this to say, yes, in the industrial era, yes, being physically fit, especially in the industrial era and prior to that, being physically fit as well as being a wise man contributed to your success. Because ultimately, when it comes down to it, who is stronger, a lion or a human? We know that lions are way stronger than humans, right? That is bottom line. Lions are way stronger than humans. But ultimately, what makes us the kings of the world? And it's the wisdom. So now we've done to the best of our human capabilities in the Industrial Revolution and all those eras where we physically needed to either we needed manpower to even operate machines. Physically, yeah. So yes, we could say that men had a role there in the physical form, right? But as we move into the information era where intelligence is important, now these roles are becoming blurred. And the countries that are still living in the past, the countries that are still where women are not equal to men, those countries, well, people are still living they're still living in the 20th century. Their technology, the lack of 24/7 electricity, all these things are the reason that they're still living there. So I think we have to be very, people just, and here's my issue with someone like Akon saying this. Because Akon says this, that men are kings and all this stuff. He says this to the men, but he's not the same as you. You're not the same as Akon. You see what I'm saying? Akon is a multi-millionaire, probably worth hundreds of millions of dollars. The experience that he has in life is not equal to what everybody else that's watching this, most other people that are watching this, especially the men, it's not an equal experience. So his interpretation of he is able to be comfortable in his role as a traditional male because he's traditionally wealthy. He's traditionally the breadwinner in his relationships. That is not the case for a lot of men in the modern era. But let me keep going.
Fuse. How can a man and a woman play the same exact role? Where's the balance? Right? So in Africa, it's very clear. The woman plays the role of a woman. Okay? God installed love, emotions, and compassion in a woman because as a motherly figure, those things have to be instilled.
Mm-hmm. Nurturing.
Right. This is why women catch so much feeling so quick. This is why they can endure so much pain and still be there. That loyalty, all that comes with them naturally.
So a lot of what he's saying is kind of also, there are two things, right? He's promoting this toxic masculinity. So he's saying that women come with love, compassion, all these things. So men don't come with those things. And this idea that men don't come with these things is why we have men with the highest suicide rates, why we have men with the highest criminal rates, why we have men that are going out and shooting up schools, these mass shootings. This is why men are so susceptible to joining these extremist groups, and so they can find an outlet. This is what is making it, when it comes down to it, as humans, we all have those qualities, compassion, etc. Then on the flip side, the other thing that he said, that women can endure the most pain. Jesus Christ. Why should anybody have to endure pain? That is your measure of a woman, that you can endure the most pain. And that's what you're using to celebrate women, or to say that's your role, to endure pain, and men shouldn't have to endure pain. You see why this is problematic? So he's using these traditional views. Fair enough, he's a traditional man. He's made it successfully traditionally. And a lot of people in his ecosystem are going to support him just because of that. But I think it's very dangerous when you encourage this mentality amongst men, that they're not going to experience the same type of quality of life that you are. They're not going to experience the same respect as you are. When they go around the world with these views, they're only going to isolate themselves from society. It's kind of like when you look at Kanye West and all the outbursts that he has, and he's influencing people to have these outbursts, but you're not going to get away with it. You're not a billionaire like Kanye. You're not famous like Kanye. You're not going to get away with this. You're going to actually mess up your own life doing this. So I think it's like, people need to be very careful when they're listening to successful men, because I actually believe that successful men are the suppressors of society, especially of men. And they come out with these conversations like this, saying, sort of like encouraging men that we are the same. And, they're the ones that are facilitating these gender wars. But they're not going to stick with you through the pain that you're going to experience. They're just saying that so you don't come after them. Instead, they say, hey, look at these women. Let's point our fingers at these women. But Akon can go and enjoy all the women that he wants, and you can't. So I think people have to be very careful when you're listening to successful men, explain about, their own existence, as if you're ever going to experience. Sure, everybody should be ambitious and want to, strive, but financial success is not the measure of success, of a successful life. So I think people have to be very careful when they look at people like Akon and successful men, and what they brainwash you to believe that you deserve, because they know that you're never going to get that. That is their luxury. That is their experience because of their wealth. Everybody in the world is not wealthy. So they're selling you this lie. They are the true enemies, but they're pointing their fingers, not enemies, but they're the true oppressors. They're pointing their finger at the women and saying, no, look at the women, go after the women. And then you guys facilitate these gender wars online and fight against these women that really, ultimately, when it comes down to it, women have an easier route, especially at a younger age, to get financially successful, right? Women have an easier route than men. And that's part of the resentment. But let me keep going. Let me watch this, because it's kind of hard to watch it. It's so ignorant and cringe, but let me keep going.
Think that we treat them like shit. No.
I'm looking at the camera. I was about to say, everybody, this is Mr. Akon.
And say it, and Antoine agrees.
No, but guys, at the end of the day,
I agree.
At the end of the day, it's true.
So I'm gonna give you a little push.
Now the man,
I'm gonna give him some too.
I'm gonna give you a push.
So it's interesting to me how he says at the end of the day, it's true. No, it's not true. It's your truth. That's the problem with the gender wars online, right? And when you look at this from a very scientific perspective, there's a difference between your truth, and your truth is based on a set of beliefs. Like, you believe that Jesus Christ is real. That's your truth. That's not everybody's truth. There's a difference between scientific proof or scientific truth. He's going to start talking about science in a bit. And it's like, anyone that's listening to Akon around science, like, come on. So this idea that men are superior scientifically is inaccurate. Men have physical strength. But in 2022, having physical strength, is that a measure? Is that a measure of superiority? No. Because what? A lion, not even 2022, before 2022, but because a lion is stronger than you. But how successful is a lion compared to a human? What species is dying off, is going extinct? And what is thriving? So when people use physical strength, it's like, use your brain, honey. And then the other thing is that, okay, so uneducated men love to say that men are smarter. I remember, like, it was at AMS, there was a video that he goes like, we're more smarter. I was like, you can't even speak English, you talk about you more smarter. But no, he's great though. His content is hilarious. But you know, scientifically, there's no evidence that men are smarter than women. Bottom line. So when people make that argument, it's just showing your ignorance, right? But let's keep going. Let's keep watching Mr. Akon.
All right. So as a woman, her role is to support the man.
I agree.
The man, we are the kings and the divine of this universe.
Okay, so this is the part. Everybody can't be king. You talk about you a king, you got $5 in your account? Girl, sit your ass down. You know, like, people was talking about being a king. Again, this goes back to my previous point. Akon is a wealthy man. He's not a king, he's a wealthy man. So he's treated like a king. You that have $5 in your account, that you that make under $50,000 a year or less, society's not going to treat you like a king. So there's a difference between, again, your personal truth and a scientific, objective truth, right? And when it comes down to it, internally, I think that we should all believe that we are kings and queens internally. Absolutely. We should all believe that we are kings and queens, right? But what I believe about myself has absolutely nothing to do with you or anybody else. And nor does anyone else have to adapt to what I have to say about myself. It's kind of like a trans person, right? A lot of people have the argument that, okay, if trans people want to identify, as the opposite sex, go ahead. But I personally don't have to accept that as a truth because it's not an objective truth. You see what I'm saying? It's not a scientific truth, biological truth. So when it comes down to it, you can identify as a king internally. That is your personal truth, and I believe that everybody should believe the best about themselves. But objectively, society is going to treat you based on societal views and standards. And what are those? Number 1, money. Number 2, race. Right? I'm in Nigeria right now, so race, I'm black, everybody's black. But when it comes down to it, money even trumps race. That's a universal thing, right? So if you don't have money, society is not going to treat you like a king, right? You should believe that you're a king internally. You should believe that you're a queen internally. But if you're not walking around with Akon money, nobody's going to treat you like that. So that's why I think it's problematic when Akon spews all this nonsense. He's really just talking about himself. He wants all the other men to feel like kings like he is. But do you think Akon is going to talk to you if you come at him? That's the funny thing about powerful men, because I know a lot of them. They're not going to talk to the average man that comes to them. They're not even going to, don't talk to me. But if a woman comes to, the woman that he's trying to make you bash, he'll talk to the woman, especially if she's pretty. He'll talk to the women. He's not going to talk to you, though. But he does this to kind of, they do this, not just Akon, I'm not coming for Akon specifically, but just men, powerful men in general. They do this to divide and conquer. Now they're dividing you with the women in your society. But that woman comes to talk to Akon, he's going to address her. You come to Akon, he's like, get away, buddy. Stop being a groupie. So you guys have to be careful when people are dividing you, and they're going to just mess up your experience because you're going to treat the women in your life like crap. It's kind of ridiculous, but let me keep going though.
A woman can never compare to the man. They have to understand that here in America. The woman don't create life. They support the creation of life.
And somebody just broke that down to me.
The man is who create life.
Every time I say it, they laugh at me.
Man, we're gods. We the ones that create life.
No, to women, I'm saying, this conversation.
Right.
I just said it to you the other day. Y'all
And
laughing.
let me give you an example of the science of it. A man right now can create life without a woman, but a woman can't create life without a man.
That's not a fact. You see, this is the problem when you get your science from musicians, right? And entertainers or jesters. They tell you lies. Why would I listen to Akon, who probably doesn't even have a college degree? Right. So I just wanted to show you some articles. Men could have babies without women by creating artificial, probably insemination. Making babies without eggs may be possible. Men will someday have kids without women. So there are all these articles by not very reliable websites, Men's Health, right? So there are these articles that address that. But guess what? If you go and look at women too, women can create babies without men, claim scientists. I made a whole video about this too. Some scientists see pregnancy without men in the future. Pregnancy without men, new research let us make. How to get pregnant without a man. So when it comes down to it, the science works both ways. And I made a video about this. Maybe I'll put a link down below about how they are figuring out some science to make women be able to, have babies without men. And they're doing the same thing for men. So when he claims it, he's just like, just don't get your science from a musician. Get your science from a scientist. Right? And for that to be the indicator that men are superior to women, the fact that they can create life without, that doesn't even make sense. Ultimately, when it comes down to it, we both need each other for equilibrium on this planet. So these gender wars are just absolutely stupid. Let me keep going.
If I wanted to create life right now without a woman, I would just shoot my sperm, put it in the incubator, and just give it 9 months, even maybe less with today's science, and a baby will be born. A woman can't do that. So men, we are the creators of life in actuality.
That's cool and all, but I think whoever designed that system designed it for the act of the togetherness.
The union.
Yeah.
Y'all missing the point.
And that's what I was speaking
Y'all
to.
missing the point, because what the point is, the men have lost the idea of the power they actually possess and passed it to the woman.
That's true.
Here in America, the men are afraid of their power.
So this is where I'm gonna give you a little pushback, and they'll tell you,
right,
I'm on your side. 90%.
You know, push it back.
Yeah, push it back. Don't cop please at the front.
What happens in America, though, to your point, is the men are dropping the ball. So how you said, women are supposed to support the men. If you ain't got nothing to support, nigga, now I got to stand on my own too and become the man. It's unfortunate in our society.
No, but you don't have to become what you already are. See, let me explain something.
No, I'm saying the women have to become the man.
But what I'm saying is, it makes it unfair for the woman to have to play the role of a man.
Indeed.
Yeah.
That's a lot of their argument.
But they have.
Right. So what I'm saying is, until the man mans up.
True. Right.
The imbalance is always going to be there.
True.
So this is a main key area of accountability that Akon addresses, right? He addresses this accountability, but because he's made it on his own, he's successful on his own, he's like glossing over it like that's not a massive, huge deal. And let's just be honest, let's be frank, the way that American society is set up, I mean, at this rate, especially for black men, it's not as easy for black men to become as successful as black women in America. Even though it's not as easy because black men are more incarcerated, more targets, there are more targets on their backs. So ultimately, this idea that, well, oh, go figure that out. Well, that's a big thing to figure out, how to be financially independent as a man. That's a big thing to figure out, especially in a country that makes it difficult for you to do that. And right now I'm in Nigeria. I said that. And even in Nigeria, well, I won't say it's harder for a man, but I think a man that is under a certain financial status, yeah, it's harder than a woman, you know. But in most cases in Nigeria, you know, men are the gatekeepers of wealth in Nigeria, and women, even no matter how high they are, it's typically because men are gatekeepers, it's harder for them to get into to be financially independent, just because of the nature of the country. But I think people are making moves for it to change, but that's just kind of the way it is at this moment. But when it comes down to it, I just think that Akon is glossing over something that's like a major factor as to why women are becoming the breadwinners in America. But let's keep going.
Because the moment you allow the woman to take your role, she has every right to say that she's equal to you.
And that is what they're saying.
And that's what they're saying.
Right, because a man ain't manning up.
And so a lot of that is by design. Again, it's been that way, by design.
I mean, you can claim it and blame it on design, but it ain't like you don't know better.
Yeah, it's still been...
It don't take history to know that you got to man up and take care of your responsibility.
So yeah, to me, he's just kind of like promoting this, like these ideals of like toxic masculinity, promoting these ideas, these traditional views that a man needs to man up. I don't think that in order to be a man, you have to fit into any of the traditional roles that are expected. I think in order to be a man, you just have to have, is it XX chromosome? Yeah, I think XX is men. Yeah. So that's all it takes to me for you to be a man. Yes, I understand the gender. Wait. Or XX is men or female? XX is men. Wait. XY is men. Okay, XY is men. So yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, I know some of the gender people will have those debates with me about that, but hey, whatever. Not whatever, but this is my opinion, right? Everybody has a right to their opinion. To be a man, you need to be born biologically a man. That's what I believe. To be a woman, you should be born biologically a woman. That's all it takes. These societal expectations on what the role of a man is. You know, well, to be a man, biologically, yeah. To be a man, I believe, okay, obviously over 18, because if not, you're a boy, over 18, and have X, or have be biologically a man, same as women, right? Yeah, and there are these societal expectations about what it takes to be a man, and I don't buy into those things. I think those things are toxic, and I think especially as we're moving more into the 21st century, we have to accept the realities of the world that we live in the 21st century. Right now I'm in Lagos. I'll say Lagos is still in the 20th century. So fair enough, some of the things he's saying, it makes sense in this setting, right? But in the developed world, where people are in the 21st century and technology is moving faster and faster with AI and all this technology, I do not think that gender roles are going to suffice. And I think that it's so interesting watching these gender wars. It's for a reason that it's happening right now. I think it's so symbolic to me. Like, look at how 2020 hit. 2020 hit, the first thing that hit was COVID. That's another, I think it was just super symbolic when that happened. COVID happened. So we're having this virus that is seems like an Armageddon, end of the world type situation. It's just so symbolic. And then what follows that? The gender wars. And those gender wars, I think they're happening right now for a reason. I think the reason is we're going to have to redefine what gender roles are in the 21st century as technology booms, especially as we move into the 2100s. And I think future generations are going to be so fascinated by our conversations, this discord that we're having online. I'm glad that it's going to stay here forever for people to see it, but people are going to start understanding how we shifted gender roles due to technological advancements, and how our physicality as we moved into technological advancements was no longer as important. But what was more important in this era is our mentality. I think it's just an interesting thing to watch. But these are great conversations that we're having online, and as ideas are shifting and changing, very incredible. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Leave a comment down below. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, all the above. My name is Kenim, and I'll see you next time. A peace and stream.